What a wonderfully impressive sight, and what a familiar one too. London, instantly recognizable, even if you have never ever been to London. The River Thames, Tower Bridge, Hyde Park, Buckingham Palace, the Houses of Parliament, Big Ben, and Westminster Abbey. Just look at that building. The picture speaks 1,000 words. The foundations of the present building are laid upon the foundations of earlier churches going back to the 7th century AD. The great cathedral that we see today is itself the growth of centuries, and it looks as if it will endure for the centuries yet to come. Take another look at it. The sturdy yet stately towers, the cream-colored stone structure. If its external appearance is any indicator, this cathedral is much closer to the Middle Ages than to our modern age and modern world. So why should anyone in London want to concern themselves with this great old monument from the past, which, to some, looks rather boring and uninviting, if not intimidating? And for this very reason, many visitors to London who have seen Westminster Abbey from the outside have never been inside. They just don't realize what an opportunity they have missed and how they have cheated themselves. The story of the Westminster Confession of Faith, which had its origins in Westminster Abbey, is very similar to the story of Westminster Abbey. Unfortunately, far too many modern Christians have mistakenly gazed only on the surface of the Westminster Confession and fallen into the trap of judging this book only by its cover or by a superficial skim of its contents, perhaps been put off by prejudiced stories of long-dead disputes and theological arguments from the past, of unbending orthodoxy in a day when that was fashionable. But there are other things to interest us now. How wrong can you be? There is far more to the story than meets the eye. The Westminster Assembly, like the building it met in, contained much more than meets the eye, and its confession is one book which cannot be judged only by its cover. Living centuries after this momentous convocation, it is sometimes difficult to appreciate some of the teachings of the Westminster Confession of Faith without knowing a little about the times, the personnel, and the context which formed its backdrop. Or to take the time to listen, read, and ponder upon the special relevance its chapters still have for us today and for our children in the generations to come. A first impression is not enough to allow us to truly grasp much of the genius and enduring value of the Westminster Assembly and its writings. This study begins with the belief that these writings are of enduring value and are in no way outdated, for they represent God's eternal truths. Moreover, of existing resources among Bible-believing Christians, these standards are still among the best, though most frequently ignored. Many would wrongly conclude that these documents are of interest today only if we love museums or antiques, or like to fight over again the long-dead battles of the past. I'm Arthur Palmer, a minister of the Presbyterian Church of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and a member of the executive of the Westminster Fellowship, and also editor of our quarterly magazine. For 50 years, we have sought to bear witness in our church to the infallible truth and the divine authority of Holy Scripture, and especially to promote, to explain, to expound, and to defend our confessional heritage as contained in the Westminster Confession and Catechisms. We count it our privilege to be co-sponsors of this presentation on the Westminster Confession by the Reverend Dr. Andrew Young, esteemed Principal of Grace Theological College, Manurewa, Auckland, New Zealand.